stream condition excellent. Let's just see if anybody joins us again. I did have to reboot the router there just to get the upstream good enough, I think. I think that's what the issue was. So we'll just wait a minute or two for a few people to join back. I think Happy Coding was perhaps going to join us. Happy Coding is a developer of Spectrum Games, by the way. F1 over, so we're here. Ah, okay. I'd forgotten the F1 was on today. My friend Nathan and Colin will have been watching that probably, because they're big F1 fans. Cardleson, big Amiga Atari fan. Yeah, I am as well. I'm a big fan of all these systems, really. And the Amiga is probably my favourite, but I've got a lot of nostalgia and for the Atari ST and the Atari Lynx. 8-bits, I wasn't really into the Atari 8-bits. I only saw a few of them actually when I was in the trade. They hardly ever came in for repairs, so either they were super reliable or perhaps not as popular, and I think it's a combination of the two things actually. I get to join a live stream. Almost worth being ill. I'm sorry if you're not so well. Hope you're feeling a bit better. Steve Leary was on the other day, wasn't he, on that last stream, and I didn't really get a chance to talk to him, but he's been ill with COVID. It's just one of those things where everyone seems to be getting it at the moment. Right, let's just crack on, I think. So, yeah, as I was saying, Happy Coding, the chap that mentioned previously about the developer of one of the developers of Alien, because it wasn't the actual original developer. The original developer was Paul Clancy, I think, wasn't it? In fact, let's just start it now. Oh, thanks for that donation, Cardinalson, much appreciated. So hopefully the volume level will be about right here. If I just go to the credits, actually, I'll just remind you who the original developer was. Yeah, there you go. Original version, Paul Clancy, 1984. But there were a few other developers that took the... I don't know if they took the code or they just rewrote it with Paul's help, but they ported it to the Spectrum and the CPC. So please just let me know, is that volume level okay? So yeah, COVID. Oh, Houston. Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, I should have known you were ill. Yeah, and I always get confused because the nicknames people use on my Discord never match what they use on YouTube. So I just never know who anybody is. Sounds okay to me. Excellent. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I do hope you're feeling a bit better soon. Rest assured, I think that most of the time now with COVID, it seems to be, this Omicron variant, and you just feel really rough for, 4 or 5 days or maybe a week. So fingers crossed, I'm sure you'll be all right. Right, so let's just go back out of there. I'll show you that. That's one of the changes I did as well. Tidied this up. Alison had like a bit of a light thing on her left cheek there, and it was like a V. It looked really weird, and it was just the way the photograph had been taken. And after it had been converted to a 12-bit image like this here, it really stood out, that V. It looked like a scar or something. You can sort of see it there, because if you look really closely now, it's just coloured differently. It's exactly the same pixel-wise, just toned down the white on there, and obviously rearranged this a bit because this text wasn't centralised, and I changed a few of the colours there. So just small things there, but I've got quite a long list of things I was going to talk about here. In fact, you can see them on the desktop here. I thought that was on the other one. I think you can see that. Oh, can you? Hang on. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can. Oh, no, you can, actually. Yeah, it's on XP. It's on my Windows 10. I've got like a notepad thing open, and I was moving it around, and I thought you could see it, but you can't. So, yeah, the first one, which... yeah, I'll show you that now. Let's just go back into the game. I'll catch up with chat in a minute. Sorry if you've said anything. I will. Right, let's just wander around here a bit. The first thing is there's huge speed improvements, but I'll talk about how and why in a little bit. It's amazing. You can think you can't get any more space or performance out of something, and well, in my case, I'd be wrong. Every time I think there's no way you can get more out of it. Oh look, there's Jones. Just right, this is what we're going to see. Just watch Jones. Watch you run, and then he jumps across the tail, and then legs it across the screen. So yeah, I managed to do a change to that. Now at the moment, I've got that set so that Jones will stay on the same screen as the alien just to get the gauge the frame timing and stuff, and to get that just right. But that was one of the changes I did. I did talk about getting him turning around going the other way. I could have done that, could have flipped the sprite, but if you look at the distance before he gets to the alien, it's a short distance. And the other thing I've done that ties in with that as well is there's a bit more consistency in the way that Jones works. So as you can see at the moment, he runs from the left hand side, he jumps and runs obviously if the alien's there. If the alien's not there, he just continues to run at the normal speed, but when he exits the right hand side of the screen, he doesn't do what he previously did, which is to run across halfway or something and then eventually just disappear mid screen. So he'll only do that single pass from left to right before he then goes to another location, and that animation carries through as well. So for example, if he says, a certain crew member sees Jones and you go through the crew there to find the character that spotted him, by the time you get there you'll see he'll be halfway or more across the screen. It's like persistence basically. From the time someone spots him to the time he's moved on is the time that it takes him to move from one side of the screen to the other. And as I say, when the alien's there, he will hop, 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 and then leap across the alien's tail, leg it to the other side. He's like, I'm out of there. And if the other thing with that, I can show you that actually. If I just reset that, because there is some code in there just forcing the alien to that position and forcing Jones at the moment. You'll see the same thing happens when the alien is in the grill. If you watch now, so straight away, if you see that behaviour, you're like, hang on a minute, I think the alien must be down there. And if you watch the grill icon, do you see it just open? So you know that the alien's about to pop up. But bear in mind, when you're playing this normally, Jones will have only run across that screen one time and he's gone. Yeah, he'll then be in another room. He could come back onto the screen, but the same thing will happen where he'll jump over the alien tail and leg it to the other side. So that's that one. Let's just catch up with chat, just to make sure we're not missing anything. Do you have an Atari emulator? When you say Atari emulator, do you mean like 8-bit? Do you mean Atari Lynx? I'm using an Atari Lynx emulator here at the moment for this. Is that what you mean? That jump's cool. Yeah, I think it looks alright, doesn't it? Is that Alison a hardware person? Yes, she did, and she died in a motorcycle accident. It was, one of those just terrible tragedies, really. The funny thing is, and I can't be 100% sure, but when I heard about this, the reason it hit me so bad is because, like I say, it made me think and reflect on my life, because my life, looking at her page, she had a web page up, Logic Says, was almost a mirror image of what I'd done. All the sort of same work experience, working on the same things, using the same technology. And I am sure, I can't be 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure in my mind that she came for an interview when I worked in Altrincham for Atkins. I'm sure of it. I'm convinced. I'm convinced she came on that bike and she had like the black leathers and stuff. She came in, she went for the interview, and I am sure that when she came out, my boss came out and said, Eddie, was like, oh yeah, with this Alison, she came from Ipswich. It's a long way on a bike, isn't it? And I was like, and I never thought anything else of it. And then it was like years later when I heard she died, and then I found out more about her when I talked to Colin and stuff, I realised that that's how she died. She died on probably the same bike she came to that interview. And I think, what a small world. What a small world. She could have ended up working alongside me. And I think that was the point where it whacked me, and I'm like, oh my God, And I didn't even have a chance to talk to this person other than on the forums and things. So yeah, be careful if you ride a motorbike. It's always been the way, bikes, you've got more chance of dying on a bike than you have in a car. I had a Atari Jaguar CD attachment, but I have an Amiga CD32 first. Hey Chris, what to say? Oh yeah, sorry, I saw that email I mentioned just before you rejoined this stream. Thank you very much for that email. Is he the author of the Spectrum or Amstrad version? Because I showed in the credits at the beginning of this, it's Paul Clancy who wrote the C64 version. I'm not actually sure whether those are the guys took over, a port of his code, or whether he ported to the C64 after the others. But I think the C64 was the first version. So, but in any case, it's interesting. I wouldn't mind talking to them. Yeah, Spectrum version. I've got the Spectrum version as well because obviously I'm quite a fan of the game. Just picked up my first Lynx this week. Super impressed with Desert Strike, Stun Runner and Warbirds. We can perhaps have a look at one or two of the games before we end this stream. I'll go in and out of a few games. I'll show you why I like the Lynx so much, and perhaps how capable it is. You know, the stuff I've done here doesn't really showcase what the Lynx can do. It may do in terms of the complexity, but not necessarily, you know, it's not like high frame rate, fast moving, parallax scrolling, all the things that I will do with some of the game at some point. This just isn't that kind of game. George Lee, hi, enjoying the Alien Projects. Thank you very much. Cardinal C64, handy dev kit was an Amiga 2000. That's correct. We had Alex Thisson join on the previous stream, and he's one of the few people, well, as far as I know, few people actually own that dev kit. He has the Amiga 2000, and he has the I can't remember the name of it. It's got the hardware that you can actually, I think it's like a Lynx with the non-maskable interrupt stuff connected up to some sort of board, and you can actually, you know, send code directly to it, but you can also interrupt, and you know, you've got breakpoints then and all that sort of stuff. It's you know, the proper development kit. So yeah, there can't be very many people who got those. Just the, you know, some of the people that collect the super rare Atari Lynx stuff. Gwendolyn Garfield, hello. Right, let's just get back to where we were. Sorry if I missed anything there. Okay, so you've seen the Jones stuff. Now the amazing thing is, like I say, I managed to squeeze that in, but that was after quite a lot of, you know, revisiting the code, looking at the code, trying to find any inefficiencies, crazy things. And when we're talking about inefficiencies, you know, things like where you've got one, you know, set of conditions, logic. I'm trying to think of an example. I don't think I've got one, but I had. In fact, that's not even a good way of explaining it. A better way of explaining it, some of the inefficiencies I was looking at, where you say, for instance, you've got a load of things that happen inside a loop, and one of them, you know, is happening every single time through the loop, but actually in reality, you could just do it outside the loop. So, you know, that's one example. Another one would be, you know, I've got a few different types of conditions inside a loop somewhere, and for those different branches there, they're doing the same thing. Yeah, so if something equals 1, for example, it's doing, I don't know, setting something to A, and something equals 2, it's also setting it to A, but doing some different stuff in each of those sections. You're replicating the same, you know, block of code twice. So yeah, it's a case of looking at things and just working out where you're doing crazy things like that. And I also did some stuff, let me find where it is now. Oh, I'm trying to think what file it's in. Let's have a look. It's not sprite. Oh, I created a specific file for it, didn't I? Let's have a look. Yeah, what I was going to say is creating like lookup tables, because I'm trying to think what it was. It's a crazy bit of code. Oh, I know it is. It's rooms. Let's have a look. Rooms. It might be doors actually. Room doors, there it is, room doors.asm. So I just created this tiny little bit of assembly file again, and actually, you know, my use of assembly in here has literally just been with data like this. I've hardly done any actual code. In fact, that's not the one, is it? That's room strings. Room doors is what I want. Oh, it's not added in, is it? Let me just find it this way. Yeah, I could just right click on the project and choose add a file. Because it's not added to the project, but it is compiled as part of the project. It's a bit strange how that works. Room doors.asm. There it is. Yeah, that's the one. So all this is a load of bytes here. Yeah, and each one of those bytes represents the number of doors in a specific room. So you may be thinking, what's the benefit of that? Well, the way it was working, if I just find the room initialization code, I could show you that. Init rooms, I think it's called. Yeah, so I've got a large case statement here, which again is not the best way. I could actually optimize this further. I could just literally have some, you know, like I've done with that bit of assembly there. I could have that file, you know, this data in there instead of having to do this. So that would be another way to speed things up further. But the way this code was working, it loops through all of the 33 rooms I think there are, and assigns the name, the position, the X, Y, on the map where it is, but also how many rooms link to it. You've got to have some way of linking rooms together. Otherwise, a player, once they're in a room, if there's 3 different ways you can go, how do you know that? How does the code know that? At that point, you've got to be able to know where those links are to other rooms. So if you look at this first one here, command center, that's the one on the left hand. Is that command center? Yeah, that's the one on the left hand side where you do the self-destruct. So there's only one way in. So you've only got one door. And this is where the whole doors parameter sits. So in that case, you've just got one. The next room there, corridor 1, has got 5 rooms. So of course, when you in the code, when you've got navigation of the player, you've got navigation of the alien, navigation of the android, you need to be able to fairly quickly work out what your options are. And the way it was working was having to look at the room you're in, and then loop through the rooms property, if you like. There's ways I could have optimized that. In fact, now I think about it, I could think of an even quicker way of doing that. I could have had a property in there to say a variable called max rooms or something, and then just, as we're doing at this point, set it in there so you know how many rooms you've got to go, to look through, etc. But the simple way to remove those and it was in a number of places, 3 or 4 different places where it was going through a loop each time. So I was like, oh, let's just get rid of that. And that's basically why we've ended up with roomdoors.asm. So I mean, that was just one small thing. But in terms of optimizations, I then went on to follow a guide actually online. Let me just see if I can find the link. I'll share it here if I can. Hang on, just bear with me a sec. CC65 optimization. It's a fantastic bit of information, this, if you're thinking of getting involved with CC65, because of course you don't need to just do the Atari Lynx stuff. What I'm doing here with the Lynx, you could do this on this, use the same environment here, the with the C64, with the Atari 8-bit, with the Apple, I think Apple II, and numerous other systems that use a 6502. So I'll post that link. I'll also post it below and pin it later. Yeah, github.com. Yeah, CC65. I forgot what the word was I was going to say. Right, so one of the things I gained from that tutorial there, on optimization of using CC65, is if you've got structures in your code, and let me just show you how I have some. If we go to, not very well named, these control structures. So if I look at, say, the one for the crew, so here's a structure, yeah. And that structure contains a number of bytes here, and there's a long there actually for the timer. But unsigned chars, as we mentioned, I think in the first stream actually, are the most optimal data types to use with the 6502 and CC65, because it tends to treat integers as 16-bit and it's an 8-bit system, so you get loads of inefficiencies if you use int. So you've got to go with everything as unsigned char, and I already had that, but what I didn't have is what I'm about to explain. So I've got this structure here. I had the structure already. I had all these properties here, just so the same way. These different variables: the name, health, morale, etc. And then what I had was an array of these structs. Yeah. So I had an array called crew, and in crew you had 7 of these struct entries. And one of the things that the author of that tutorial, that optimization tutorial, pointed out, I think it's in the 3rd part, and there's about 20 or 30 different things you can do, so I've got to do a lot more on it yet, was to, instead of having an array of structs, have a struct of arrays. And you can see what's happened there now. I've got like the 7 crew, that's what this 7 is. So you've got name, you've got 7 of them. 7 health elements, if you like, 7 morale, blah blah blah, all the way down, 7 of each. It gets a bit confusing where on the top one there, because originally name was 8 characters, obviously the letters for the user's name, so that's a multi-dimensional array. There are seven of them, and for each one there are 8 more character bytes there. for the actual letters. So of course, if I change all of the code, I must have spent about 2 hours changing it for the crew, for the room structures, for the menu structures, for item structures. I tell you, it was crazy. These didn't need it because Jones is only one of, the alien there's only one of. There's no point in changing anything there, and even the hit indicator as well. So yeah, the end of doing all that, I was absolutely amazed because I would say it's about 30 to 40% faster, and I've got it highlighted there, 860 bytes gained by changing from an array of structs to a struct of arrays. So that was just mind-blowing. It's like, this is the thing, this is what I was saying right at the start, is you can think you can't gain any more space and any more performance, and you just keep looking at it, you'd be amazed at what you can actually claw back. We're doing struct stuff now. Yeah. So does this allow you to set up three-dimensional array? I think it does. I think you can go further than that. I'm pretty sure. Let's just try. If we just go back to control structures, let's just add an extra by there. It's going to mess the code up because it's not expecting obviously a third dimension. No, hang on. I think that's work. Let's just do clean and rebuild. Yeah, you could go on. I think. But yeah, incompatible pointer types now, too many errors. That's because it's obviously not interacting with that extra dimension, if you think about it that way. So yeah, I think you can have more, but it's like I say, you've got to calculate some of this stuff. One of the things that got me thinking is when I came to do the room struct stuff here. Or was it the room struct? Oh, it was the item struct. Let me just show you the item stuff. I've just come down to the item stuff. This is quite scary, really, because in terms of size, you've got 22 items, unique items in the game. So some of those are the same type, if you like, but you've got 22 instantiated objects throughout the Narcissus, spread through the 3 floors of the ship. And the name bit there, that's the bit that's going to eat tons and tons and tons of RAM, because you've got 22 of them, and it can be up to 19 characters. So you've got to do 22 times 19 to work out how many bytes are taken up by that. So yeah, that's and that sort of slipped back a bit, because the way I did have that, I had it. The way I thought I had it, I was trying to use a pointer, and I was trying to point this to the actual string elsewhere, so that where you've got, say, 5 of the same item, you haven't actually got 5 times the amount of space for each of those strings taken up. They're all pointing to the same one. But that wasn't working as I thought it was. So for the moment, I had to revert that back. But that is something I need to change, because that's quite a waste of space there. And similarly, I started thinking about some of these other things down here. The grill, for example, that's a single bit. So is it in the duct system or is it not? That's all it represents for every single item, and all we need is a single bit. So 22 bytes when I could be using 22 bits. So there's a few things like that with some bits, logic, some Boolean logic there. I could actually set and check the bits I don't know, you've got to think though, because you can end up making things slower. That's the thing. But anyway, places like that, that's where you need to look for saving space and stuff. It's a similar thing here on the room structure, 16 bytes, but I mean they're all unique, so you've got to do something with that. You could still use a pointer to point somewhere else, but the way those have been done is when it does the initialization, it loads a bit of code in for the initialization to initialize everything, and that code contains all of the strings, and then the strings get populated into this structure here. It's instantiated. The names are all unique, so you can't really do anything clever with pointers there to save space. And then the initialization code is thrown out along with all the strings. You've just got the instantiated thing there, so you can't really do much with that other than use some of the. You could use compression. Someone mentioned that the other day. It may have been Happy Coder actually. Wow, thanks for all these donations, Cardinalson. Retro Game Revival. Are we doing struct stuff now? Yeah. Wait, what? So you got 800 bytes back by changing what exactly? Yeah, I got 800 bytes back by just changing from arrays of structs to structs with arrays. So, a structure with arrays in it, just based on the fact that when you're interacting with those properties, the parts of the struct there, can't think what the proper term is. Class them as properties. It's like an object, isn't it? And you've got the individual properties. And that one there, for example, room struct, you've got vpos, hpos, name, door, etc. But yeah, just that one change gave me almost a K. Almost a K. But I've done a lot of other changes as well, and I've ended up with around about 800. So it could have been more than a K. Just catch up a little bit, and I'll get on to the next thing. Argonaut never did a Lynx game, but they never threw it. But they threw it away when I was there. Fished out the skip. What's we got? Cool. I used to be a big programmer, but that was when these computer systems were new. Yeah, this is the thing, really. It's one thing doing something like this these days. Back in the 90s, when this hardware was out, you'd be doing this somewhere materially on the official Amiga 2000 dev kit there. I think there wasn't. You may have been able to do it on an Atari ST as well. I don't know. I've got vague recollections of that, but nevertheless, that's what you'd be using, and it would have been 100 times harder than it is now. I think it would have been all assembly. And actually, yeah, you could. For some people, they would say assembly's easy, and I think it is. But you get it really low down with the hardware, so you've got to understand every single register and every single piece of functionality there, right down to what all the individual bit flips do on certain locations and things. And I was looking at some of that yesterday. I can show you that now if you're interested. They're steering in a different direction here, but nevertheless, it might make some interesting. I'll tell you what. I need to share my desktop. Let me just see if I can do that. That might help. If I just go to CC65 source, I'm going to go there, and let's add another thing in Elgato. Hang on. Window capture, Firefox. There we go. So hopefully you can see Firefox there now. If I have a look at, where's it gone now? Source code. There we go. So it takes us to GitHub. I'll try and where it is now. libsource links. Yeah, I was looking at this yesterday in relation to the font stuff, and there's a reason why I haven't done that actually. You'll see. I'll explain that. If we go into TGI, there it is. So this is the bit of assembly here that Kari Kakkonen, and I can't say his name, I'm sorry, I'm terrible at pronunciation. Kakkonen. Yeah, Kari Kakkonen in 2004 for the CC65 compiler. So he kindly, helped get the Lynx support built into C65 by producing things like this graphics driver here. And if you look at what this is doing here, there's some complex stuff. Some of it looks simple, but it's look at stuff with the palette there. That's the install routine. Uninstall, init, stuff to do with errors, control. So almost control routine succeeded, activate, deactivate, collision detection. So this is doing, obviously doing all the low-level stuff you need to do in order to be able to get graphics to go out on the Lynx in the TGI way, so that TGI can be linked to it effectively. So TGI clear, swapping the buffers, setting the frame rate 50, 60, 75 hertz. So yeah, the stuff like this here, you would need to know exactly what address to be writing a specific bit or byte to, etc., and the sequence of events and all of it. It takes a lot to do that. That's why CC65 is easy. It's a godsend. It really is. You've got stuff here to control the flip of the screen. And if you're not familiar with flipping, it's like I mentioned a few streams back. It's like you have double buffering on the Lynx. So you have an area of RAM which has an image of the screen, another area of the RAM which is another image of the screen. You've got two, and what you do is you draw onto the one that's not displayed, and then you flip. Yeah, so the display hardware is always displaying the one that you finish with, if you like, that's completely drawn. And you can do clever things with that. You can, for example, as you get better at developing software, and I haven't done any of that on this, you could, if you keep track of where you're drawing on the screen, in theory, why would you redraw the whole thing every frame? What you can do is, flip between the buffers and just update what needs to be updated, and then flip it back again. So, it could just be position of a ship or a bullet or something, or it could be a few different things. But so there's advantage in thinking about how you use the screen flipping on a double buffer system like this, because you can gain a lot more performance if you can keep track of what you need to redraw rather than redrawing everything. But there's loads of stuff in here. I mean, it is simple. If you look how many bytes there are, it's not a lot, but that shows you how optimal he's got it. Really, he's done some pretty elegant coding to get these things as small and as optimal as possible to allow us to develop using C with TGI and stuff and CC65. So it's amazing stuff. So all the source code for that is online. Let me just minimize that back to here. I'll have a quick catch up with chat, and then I'll show you some more things. Are you using any compression on the text? Yeah, I thought it was you that asked that the other day. No, I'm not, because there's just no real use. I wouldn't gain. I would need a compression routine. How big is that going to be? I'd be amazed if you could get a compression routine smaller than, I don't know, a few hundred bytes. Maybe it's possible. But then you've got to obviously uncompress. The way this is working with strings, most of the strings, they're in a segment. Yeah, that segment gets loaded. We do something, i.e. display some text or something, and that segment is then ditched along with the strings. So the only point the strings are really resident is as we're drawing them. So I don't really need it. For something like an RPG, if I was developing an RPG on this, you'd absolutely need to be able to have a compression thing for strings, and also some way to output strings yourself. I didn't. Let's just go back to that screen. One thing I didn't do there, I got sidetracked. The reason I took you to that tutorial, not tutorial thing, the source code for CC65 was just to show you something. So if I just re-show you that again, and we just go back into, hang on, I've lost it now, I'm on a different page, aren't I? CC65 source, click, libsource. Yeah, what I was going to show you is the font stuff at the bottom. This is why I was in this file yesterday looking at it, just for ideas to see, could I modify this? Could it, how did he do it? How did he do the text? And it's here. So here's the font stuff at the bottom. 96 characters from ASCII, and this is exactly what I hit. Before I found this, I was looking at the ASCII character set, and I was like, well, I don't want anything up to about 31. I think it starts with is it an exclamation mark or something? And I think that was where I was looking. I was like, well, if I start from the exclamation mark, and then I have all the characters, the alphabet, uppercase, lowercase, symbols, all the different symbols, numbers, lowercase, and then it ends with some more symbols, punctuation and stuff, I think, and that takes you all the way down to, as it said there, 127. So you've got quite a lot of characters, yeah, that if you're trying to replicate the whole character set. And then I started thinking, well, why don't I've got mostly uppercase, there's hardly any lowercase that I've made use of, so why not just use all the uppercase characters and the numbers and maybe some punctuation. But then it gets messy, because all of the if I just go back to the code, all of the code I have at the moment, hang on, wrong one, yeah, I'm back there we go. For example, if I load one of these strings, room strings for example, so I've got a load of strings in here, and I've got the binary for that there, so those bytes there represent command center. So if I was going to have my own blitzing routine and I had an image that's got all the letters separated by the same distance, X and Y, because that's how that'd be the easy way to do it. Already that image is quite large, yeah, or it would be in terms of if it's already exploded out. If you did it, from an image, you've just blitting from an image and you're moving, like if you imagine you've got an image, yeah, and that image has got all the letters, let's say, I don't know, 6 by 6, separated by nothing. There's just like one pixel between them perhaps. You could easily have a routine that just works out exactly based on the number here, say example 43. If you start at 0, 43 is easy. If I was starting at 33, obviously I'd need to subtract. Is it subtract? Yes. Subtract in order to know that I'm starting at 33. and I could blip that individual character that way. But of course, having that image like that with all the letters in it, you need a load of RAM for it. The way it's done on there, if I just go back to it again, it's compressed. It's compressed. You know, it's the way it's listed there. Hang on, I'm trying to get the right window here. Yeah, if you look at these here, so that is one single character, one single letter, if you like. It's 32. Is that an exclamation mark? I think it might be. So, and it explains there. It says 8 pixels wide, 8 pixels high. Bit value 0 equals foreground, and this is the key. Bit value 1 equals background. So, because it's only a monotone, you know, monocolor, a single color font, that's all you need for a font, isn't it? You've got a pixel there, or you don't. So he's split it into individual bits. You know, if there's a bit, the first bit set, it's you know, it's foreground. If it's 1, it's background or transparent. And that's the thing. So you then need a routine to be able to work with that. So yeah, I'm not saying it's impossible or anything like that or too difficult. What I'm saying is it's just a pain, isn't it, having to do that. And I did look at modifying that code there, but everything in that code is handling it. I can find an example further up. It's like there, see, you've got an 8 times 8. There's like 8s all over the place. Look, 8 pixel lines per character, 8, 8, 8. So as soon as you start going 6, oh god, you could think just change all the 8s to 6. I don't think it's going to be quite that easy, because when you're dealing with 8, obviously you're dealing with bytes. When you're dealing with 6, now you're not into bytes. Now you need to start thinking what happens when you get to the last 2 bits of a byte and how you can use that for the first 2 of the next bit, and then only a 4 in the next byte. See what I mean? So yeah. So I might revisit the font stuff. I don't know, but for the moment, I don't really see any benefit, because when I see how optimal this is here, I think, what would I gain in performance other than my own it looking different and me going, oh, I've got my own font? What would I gain? I don't think anything. I think it would be slower. So just catching up with Happy Coding. What you do is figure out how many words you use, build a small dictionary. Yeah, it's a similar thing. The other thing you can do is you can just literally have sprites for words. I've seen that done. It's something that is done to a degree on the Neo Geo, I think. I'm pretty sure Samurai Shodown RPG used that sort of technique, because obviously it had lots of kanji. It's Japanese only, and obviously they've got the symbols and things for various things there, but there's lots of sprites that provide the text, if you like, in kanji. That's, you know, that's all it is. It's an image rather than, let's say, a full alphabet. They don't have an alphabet, do they? But you know what I mean, like a full dictionary, etc. For decompression routine, we're pretty small, but as you say, if it depends on how text heavy it is. Yeah, I think for an RPG, you'd be foolish to not consider doing that right at the start, to look at ways to get your own custom font and as optimal as possible with some compression routines and things. But yeah, I think we've managed all right with this. There was a problem earlier on with the text on this, where the text was causing some problems because of how much space it was eating, but that was in large due to the way CC65, C there, the C compiler, was putting stuff on the stack and on the heap and all that sort of stuff. As soon as I threw those constants out the window, and let me just go back to the window. I'm losing track of where I am now. Yeah, as soon as I threw those constants out the window and did this here, had a bit of assembly, and went, oh, let's just stick a byte in it. Yeah, there we go. There's the series of bytes that form that string. There's no overhead on C at all. C's not even aware of it. I just feed it manually. As long as it's got that terminator on the end, 00, it's not bothered where it came from. It's not bothered that it's not a real, an instantiated variable or constant in C, if you see what I mean. I'm just going to need to just put Rosa in the kitchen a minute with her food. Just give me 1 second. I will just start the game again. I'll just quickly, hopefully now, go through some of the other things because I've waffled far too long. I'm getting really confused about where I am at the moment. Where am I going here now? I go back onto there. Make sure you can see that. Yeah, you can see that. Back on. Start that up. Yeah, so I'll just start this just so you don't have to suffer the music. And I'll just be 1 sec. Let's get some food. Right, she's eating now. Oh yeah, that reminds me. Oh, here we go. I'll show you this. Right, so this was something else that had some feedback on Atari Age. Actually, I forget exactly who it was, but you know who you are if you do see this video. And that was when the aliens attacking. It was already the way it worked. You could press right to see who it was attacking, but that was it. So if there were two or more people in a room, it would only ever show you the person that was being attacked. The first one, the target. Whereas if I press right now, you can see that it's showing Brett. He's in the same room, and he's the one that's targeted. Press right again. Back to Ash. So yeah, that works. That took me a while to get just right there, because it was doing weird things like showing dead bodies, showing the dead player there. It took me ages to work out what was going on with that. But yeah, so you've now got that as well, which just makes it easier to play now, because you don't need to keep going up like this and go, oh, where's my next character? Oh, where is he? He's getting attacked. You can just press right, and you've just got the ones that are in the party, if you like, the ones that are being attacked. So let's just undo that bit of code that's forcing the alien. And if I can find it now. It's that one. There we go. Yeah, there we go. Just comment those out. Just put it back as it was. So yeah, this may be the final version. I'm just going to just wait a few days, see if I find any more bugs. So the colour tinting stuff, I started talking about that on a previous stream, and I never got a chance to finish explaining that. To get that red tint, I mean, I already had a routine there done to do the green tint, and I think I've explained that already, that on the Lynx you've got 12-bit colour, so you've got the way on the palette there. If I just find the palette, it's at the top of this crazily named file here. Sorry, I know the camera's wobbling there. Yeah, you've got your palettes here. You've got the first bytes there, 16 of them, define green, and then you've got the red and the blue merged together, 4 bits each. So if I just highlight, so like that, it's probably red, I think, and that one's in fact it's not. That one's blue, and that one's red, blue, red, etc. 16, yeah, one for each palette entry. So in order to change to green screen for the computer, that's dead easy, because you've got the green there. All you've got to do is set those to 0. Yeah, if you set those to 0, suddenly it's green. It looks like a monochromatic green, if you like. And with the red, that red tint, I was like, "Ooh, how am I going to do that?" Because if you think about it, you've got these two nibbles, two lots of 4 bits, single byte. One's blue, one's red. What's the easy way? Well, you can operate them at a bit level. You could just check the first 4 bits and then just carry that forward. You've only got 4 bits, etc. But doing that on every single one, yeah, it's not as optimal as it could be. The simple way to do that was literally just to copy the green into here. Yeah, so if you copy that green value into here, yeah, and just do away with the green is representing the red. We already know the green looks alright, so it's like you just literally just throwing away the blue and the red, and just use the green as the red, and now it's red, but you're using green data. Do you see what I mean? So that was a really, really quick and easy way of doing that. What you do is figure out how many words you use and then build a small... Yes, sorry, I'm rereading things here, Anna. Ever consider Exomizer for compression decompression? I've not checked that. I'll have a look. Bear in mind, we've got tiny amounts of RAM available. I mean, like at the moment, I've got 800 bytes free. If I could fit it to 800 bytes, maybe. Yeah, it's always a trade-off between speed and memory, but I imagine quite a bit could be decompressed on the fly with a game like this. Yeah, if the game's done, I wouldn't worry about it. Yeah, no, it's a good idea. I'm not criticising. I think it's a good suggestion. It's a good suggestion. And I've thought about that in relation to a few things. Like the images, for example, don't really need to do it because they're already compressed. The Lynx does the decompression itself. I think Susie does that. I think it works on a form of RLE compression. On the Specky, there are some really good compressors that use modern PCs to crunch efficiently, and small decompression routines that Spectrum can do. That's very cool. I certainly will look into that, because I wouldn't mind doing an RPG at some point in future, somewhere distant, down the road. But yeah, right. So what else is there? So lookup list. I've talked about that with the doors. Fire in alien scream on Narcissus. Oh yeah, I can show you that. I think I can just start a fire. Let's be a fire starter. Where's it gone now? Rooms. I'm trying to see if I've got one set up already. I don't know. Have we got Narcissus reference there somewhere? Quite surprised I haven't got that. Let's just. Oh, we've got them there. I've got Cryovault. Oh, it needs to be the Narcissus there, so let's just do that. Change that. I think it's on deck 3. Narcissus. And because we've changed to a struct of objects instead of an object of struct of arrays instead of an array of structs, we need to move that and put that there. So that should set that on fire. And if we just move that, I can show you what I've done there. It's all small stuff, but there's so much of it. I thought I'll make a note as I'm going along, and it gives me something to just explain when I do the this video, the update. Just to try and get someone. Let's just move in. It runs so much faster now as well, though. Since that change earlier, and we freed up those 800 bytes. I don't know. It feels like 30 or 40% faster, as well as having all that extra space. So we have got some more space to do some more changes. The one thing I may do for this before it goes live 1.05 is to add the some sort of check, so that as you move the cursor around, say where you want to go, it changes to show the room's full. Maybe it puts a no entry or something. I don't know. That's what I was thinking there. But if we go into that room there, we've got the fire, and you'll see instead of what it used to be is just as it is there, single flame. It used to be just like the same little flame. Well, now it's scaled a little bit. There's 3. It's like a little cluster of fire. So, yeah, you've got a visual indication when you're in that room that it's on fire. And the same thing holds true for any of the screens when the alien's up. So if the alien's up and there's a fire, instead of it just being a tiny little single thing, just the same as is on a map, you now get that little cluster of fire. Now I've got some more space. What I could do is have some proper larger flames and make it more flame-like and all the rest of it. I'm just not sure it serves any purpose. I think that's good enough, really. It looks like you could just warm your hands up on it, doesn't it? It's not big enough to do anything. That's the thing. It doesn't really look very dangerous. I did also consider that we could actually make the fire actually damage the player. So you're in here and your health goes down like 1 with each thing, but it's hard enough already. I really don't think it needs fire damage as well. So yeah, you've seen the Jones stuff. Yeah, he now runs off. He runs off when Alien comes on. What else have we got? You've seen the Allison screen tidy. I covered that right at the start. There's something else obvious here as well. Well, it's obvious now. It wasn't obvious to me at the time. And there's, I'm sure there's something related to this. That I'm sure when I published this originally, someone said, "You don't spell Brett like that. It's a single T." And see there, LV426. That was wrong. I can't remember who it was. Someone in the previous stream pointed that out. It's supposed to be 426. I'm wondering if that's one of those. What do they call it? Where you have a recollection of something and then you've always known it that, and then years later it changed. Mandela effect. I'm sure it's one of those, because since I was a kid, I'm sure it was 246, not 426. And I couldn't believe it. At Google, I'm like, wow, I'm flabbergasted. I've got it wrong. It's not 246, it's 426. But yeah, Brett, if we go to Brett, yeah, first time, as I say, I released this, someone went, "You don't spell Brett like that, you sprung it single T." And then someone on the last stream said, "You don't spell Brett like that, it's double T." So of course I googled it again, and I'm like, it is a double T. I'm sure I googled it last time, someone said it was single T. So I don't know. Is it Mandela effect? Am I going nuts? I don't know. But I've got recollections on both of those being the opposite of what they actually are. So anyway, that's changed. What else was there? Yeah, duct tact. I think you may have seen it in the last stream, but if I remove the grill and go into the grill, it's now obvious when you're in the grill because, well, it's obvious you're in the grill anyway, but it says duct down there. Yeah. And if the player dies, they die down there as well. So that was all. That was like, I think 2 or 3 videos back actually. But I just never mentioned it, I don't think. If you look up ZX7 or ZX0, it's Z80 of course, but might give you some ideas. Thanks, I'll check that out. Happy coding. As I mentioned at the start, Happy Coding does development of Spectrum games as well. Actually, I'll be showing some of his games on a Spectrum video I've got coming up soon. Did you find free byte for the feature? Yeah, we only found 800. In fact, we found more than 800. We've got 800 now, and I've added loads of stuff in and optimised loads of stuff, changed loads of stuff, added a few extra things, and then we've got 800 left. So we've got, it's amazing how much space we keep finding. Every time I pick a stone up or something, look, oh, there's another 800 bytes free. It's like it's astonishing, really. Mandela Effect is real, mate. It's technology they use. New World Order changed the past. I am wondering if it is, because it's like I say, there's a few things just recently I'm like, when did that change? How did that change? It's always been the other way, and then now it's not. Driving me nuts. 800 bytes from back down the sofa, yeah. Right, so DuckTect intro screen, you've seen that, the 246. Yeah, there's a bug on morale when trying to enter a full room. That was an interesting one. It's like you could, if you tried to move to the room, yeah, your morale goes up, doesn't it? And what was happening, you'd try and move to the room, but the room was full, but then your morale would go up, even though you couldn't move into the room. So it's like you failed to move into the room, but then, oh, I'm happy, I couldn't get in the room. It was like, that was a weird one, that. There was also a crippling, a sort of game-ending bug, if you like, two of them. One related to when you press left on the D-pad to go through the crew. I don't know when that was introduced. It can't have been there all along, because I'm darn sure that certainly prior to 1.2, prior to 1.3, that was never an issue. So I don't know where that came in, but it was just looping for infinity. Yeah. It just froze when you pressed left on the D-pad at a certain point. The same thing was happening when you pressed right, or was it down? It was either right or down on the D-pad at a certain point as well. So yeah, that has now been fixed. Another bug, if the Android was the last person alive, it didn't reach game over. The Android would change or whatever, flip, and the Android would be running around on its own. And you're like, well, I've just got to sit and watch the Android now. What happens if the alien doesn't get him? And that's the thing. When I tested it, I was waiting for, I don't know, a good 5 or 10 minutes for the alien to try and kill him, and that's made me realise that needs something doing about it. So if the Android is the last person alive now, even if they haven't flipped, it ends the game straight away. So if you're down to your last person, like Ash, for example, and all the others are dead, and then Ash is your last one, that's it. It will end the game and say, Ash was the Android. The idea being, you see, that the whole thing with Alien, the Android was trying to get the alien back to Earth anyway, so it kind of makes sense. And there was also an interesting one as well. After I got the 800 bytes left, I got that 800 bytes back, the instructions weren't working. If I just let's just test that now. Yeah, the instructions weren't working. There were two issues here, and this is a bit like some of the problems we've had in previous videos that I've explained, where you can get a weird thing like a crash. Here, it was crashing instantly. As soon as that screen was displayed, it was crashing, and it was Fade Palette. We had problems with Fade Palette before. Fade Palette was in a different segment, so it was trying to fade that screen in. And in fact, if I just do that again, it should fade in. If we press how to. Yeah, that fades in. That is working now. But the way it was working was just fluke. It just happened that when it had loaded the segment for the instructions in, you got your fade palette code here, for example. Here's your code for your instructions. Yeah, let's say fade palette is this bit on the left. This is a block of memory here that's not used. That's fade palette. The instructions are loaded in. It's going like that. So you still had fade palette. Yeah. After fixing everything, things are obviously better aligned and stuff now. Well, certainly in relation to that. So when you load the instructions in, you got your fade palette bit here, and it was like going over the whole lot. So as soon as you tried to fade the palette, you were jumping somewhere into an unexpected place, into the middle of some of the code, and it was crashing. So that was the first part, but then there was another part to that, and I think I'm trying to think what that one was now. Let's have a look. Yeah, in its colours as well. If I actually find where that is, we go to instructions. Am I in the right place here? Probably just spelt it wrong. Oh, let's get to that time of the day where I'm pretty tired and need to go eat something. Yeah, so if we find that, yeah, that is. So yeah, it was trying to initialize the colours first, and again that sits in another segment. That load wasn't even happening. That line of code wasn't even there. So again, it's all just a case of the fade palette and init colours just happen to be in an area of RAM that when you loaded stuff in, it was overlapping with that segment, but it wasn't overlapping those particular functions, so they just happened to work. So that was just fluke. So it's amazing when you discover things like that. You're like, God, that's like held together with sellotape. How on earth did that work? It was just chance that it did work. But thankfully, everything else did continue to work after that, massive restructure where we gained the 800 bytes. But I was a bit worried because at the end of that, you can imagine I spent a couple of hours changing all that code, and that was the only problem. Everything else worked. So I was like, oh God, am I going to have to revert this to the previous version? What's wrong with it? It makes no sense. But as soon as I started to just dig into, just check every single little thing here, is this code in the right segment, is this code in that segment, etc, etc, eventually it just became blatantly obvious that the way it worked was just fluke. It's a miracle it worked, really. But now it's reliable and as it should be. Yeah, I think that's about it really. So I'll catch up with the I could show you more, I guess, in terms of the performance. Just do that quickly. Just hit start. Might not be that noticeable to you, but if I say just go up and down through the crew here now, as soon as I press the key, that's it. It's like straight to the next crew, straight. Sorry, I know the camera's bouncing in sync there when I'm doing that, but that wasn't the way it performed before, and it's the same on these menu options. So you just go up and down like that. Now it feels twice as fast. It's amazing what a difference it made changing those arrays of structs to structs of arrays. Yeah, so much better. So anyway, I'm not going to push that version out just yet. I'll just wait a little bit longer, see if I can find any more issues with it. I'm pretty sure it's 99.9% bug free now, because I've tested everything, so many different times. So I've looked at every single little line of code so many times just to get the optimizations and things. We may, as I say, be able to get the little thing so you can see if there's too many people in a room. That would be useful, and then it'd be perfect. Stephen, hey, sounds familiar. Do you know Z80 by the way, Chris? No, not really. I don't really know much about Z80 assembly. Like the inner workings. They've got more registers, haven't they? Z80s have got quite a lot more registers, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. The Z80 is more efficient as well than 6502. You tend to find, if you compare Spectrum, for example, to C64, that was the problem. Mind you, the problem with the C64 was the speed of the CPU, wasn't it? Commodore, if they'd got a 6502 that could run at 2 or 3 megahertz or something, it would have been a bit better. Stephen's put Z80s are awful. What I mean, Stephen, is it's like it's like comparing apples and potatoes, isn't it? Really, because the thing is, let's say 1 megahertz C64, CPU versus a 4 megahertz, 3 point whatever, 4 megahertz one on a Spectrum or a CPC. So it runs half speed because it does a refresh after recycle. Yeah, I'd forgotten about the refresh stuff. I've started a weekly tutorial stream where I mess about modding classic games and teach people about the code. That's fantastic. I will have a look at that. As I said earlier, I'll be showing some of your games on some Spectrum videos that'll be coming up soon. Whilst I've got Stephen here as well, did you check out the Exos forum? I'll see if I can post a link now, actually. Stephen just announced he's, whilst he's been ill, he's managed to create an accelerator for the A2000. See if I can find it. I'll show you. An 040, maybe 060, I don't know, but 040. It's like, I'm super excited. It's like a dream come true. When I first got my Amiga 2000, I was like, I'd really love to get an 040 in this. just trying to find the link now. I'm not sure if is it still there somewhere. Let me have a look at my Discord. The thing is, someone posted it on my Discord, and I followed that link there, but I didn't. I don't know what the actual forum thread's called or anything. I just followed the link. So just bear with me 1 second. There it is, I think. Right, I'll just share my desktop again if I can. Firefox. Hey, there we go. You can put me up as well, I guess. Yeah, so look at that there. So I've had COVID for the last 10 days and been stuck in bed. It seems this is the result. I think that's fantastic. 10 days work to produce that, that's just unbelievable. TF2040, an Amiga 2000 CPU slot card, can take either an 060 or an 040. Up to 50 MHz, 128 meg of SD RAM, optional buffered IDE. Ah, it's a dream come true. It's Christmas again. I've also got, that's another thing, in talking about the dreams come true, I haven't had a chance yet, I'll do that probably this evening I think. The new firmware for the TF1260, which I believe is a lot more stable at different clock speeds, you know, so I think some people have said the mid clock speeds like 75 work pretty well now, and 100 seems okay, but you may need cooling. You will need cooling, I think, if you're going to run at 100. So yeah, I'll be checking that. I'll probably do a video on that as well, just on the differences of performance and stuff. And there's something else I'll wrap up with that video as well, just to make it, you know, cover two different things. Yes, test it and need feedback. No worries, Stephen, I will do. I'm sorry, it's like I say, I've spent too long messing with this game and stuff, but as I said right at the start of this video, part of it's because I've just been cheesed off doing my channel, if I'm honest. I've been waiting for parts, and it's just like... I don't know, I just fed up with doing repairs and things, if I'm honest. It's just like so much pressure, and it's like, I'm in this position at the moment, I've got dozens of videos to try and finish, and I'm waiting for parts for most stuff, and yeah, it's just one of those. But yeah, there will be some more videos coming onto my channel in the next few days. Right, I think I'm going to get off. Let's just see if I've missed any more comments or anything. Thank you very much to everyone that's joined, and all of the comments and suggestions and the feedback and all the rest of it. Thank you for the donations, Cardinal Sin, very, very much appreciated. Thank you to everybody really. So yeah, enjoy the rest of your evening. As I say, I'll be doing a premiere probably in about half an hour, maybe 7 o'clock, of another video this week. Stephen says, the only weirdness with the latest firmware is the mediator only seems to work at 4 meg Windows size. Well, the fact it works with a mediator at all is pretty impressive, really. I'm sure it's only something, you'll work it out. It's going to be something that you just like, that's what it was. AJD, yeah, I hope you're feeling better soon, because AJD's got COVID at the moment as well. Thank you for taking my mind off being ill. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, so like I say, feel better soon. Same with you, Stephen. I hope you feel better soon, and anybody else who's not well. Yeah, thanks a lot, and I'll catch you all in the next video.